Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the King and Pocket Aces fantasy show brought to you by rotoballer.com. I'm one of your hosts, Pocket Aces, Anthony Aniano, and joining me, as he always does here each and every week, the king of fantasy sports, Mr. Scott Engel. Scott, been about a week since we talked, and it's another week closer to fantasy football. How you doing, my friend?
Yes, good to see you. You know, people drafting already, early drafts. You can check out my new article on rotoballer.com where I'm looking at ADPs for the FFPC. And you want to get involved in those early FFPC drafts now. It's rotoballer.com/FFPC where you get a discount on your first team. They're doing best balls. They're doing Football Guys Players Championship. They've been doing that since May. So, and actually I did a Scott Fishbowl mock draft last night on CBSSports.com, which they're going to post today.
Excellent. And guys, Scott told you, head over to rotoballer.com and check out everything there. The main page, the premium package, the expert chats, whether you play DFS or season-long formats, baseball, football, basketball, MMA, esports, NASCAR, PGA, or sports betting, rotoballer.com has it for you. Sign up for any of those premium packages, baseball guiding you the rest of the way, or the upcoming fantasy football season. Sign up with the promo code KING. Sign up with the promo code ACES. You're letting them know one of us sent you, and you save a little bit of money in the process on that premium package. And Scott, I have to ask you, I didn't even think of it, but you mentioned it. Scott Fishbowl, right? The divisions have come out. I'm in the Bruce Springsteen division.
No surprise.
Is it safe for me to say you're in the KISS division?
What other division would there be?
Okay. I do think you and I, maybe two of the more predictable divisions that we could be in. Everybody who knows Scott knows his affection for KISS. And anybody who's ever watched anything I've done has seen the Springsteen poster behind me. So those are the divisions we are in. And we'll talk more and more about Scott Fishbowl as drafts get closer. They usually start, actually in a couple of weeks they start, right, Scott?
Yeah, they start very soon. And check it out at scottfishbowl.com where you can help support the cause with some great donations to charity. And yeah, you know, I've already had some conversations about what division I'm in and how if there was any KISS trivia involved that I would easily win the league. People are already saying to me, your knowledge of B-sides and demos and stuff like that, you know, is amazing.
A lot of Springsteen chatter as well from my division, having some fun. Comparing notes on concerts and things like that. So it should be, as always, Scott Fishbowl, a fun season. But Scott, first thing I want to hit up with you today is right now, as we are in mid to end of June and approaching July, before people start drafting for their season-long, best ball leagues are in mid-season draft forms right now, right? That's where everybody at this point seems to be diving in. You're more of a best ball guy than I am. I participate in a few. I don't love them, to be honest with you. I don't. I like the in-season maneuvering that comes in a season-long format over a best ball. But nonetheless, it's a draft. It's fun. It's something we participate in. But I'm going to ask you this first question as we talk best ball for the next few minutes. Is there, in your opinion, in your mind, a best ball strategy when you draft for that format that maybe is a little bit different than what you look to do in a season-long format?
First off, for those of you who are like Anthony and say, well, I mean, I'm not too into best ball, and you spend time doing mock drafts, why not do a best ball league instead of a mock draft? Because it actually counts for something. Mm-hmm. You know, you're just not mocking it up. It's, you know, you get to draft and there's actual results. Whereas the mock draft, once you do it, it just disappears into the wind. So, you know, that's one reason why I recommend regular players do it. It's a little bit different in terms of strategy, but you'll still get the overall picture. And you'll never have to worry about, you know, drafting against robot teams, et cetera, too. So there's another advantage there. But, you know, when it comes to best ball, I worry less about consistency and I look more for upside. I want those players who are going to have those big booming weeks. And I won't be as worried about injuries because I'll just draft for depth. If I'm going to draft a player that I'm worried about how often he gets injured, I'll be less concerned about him in best ball. So let's say I'm going Dalvin Cook versus Christian McCaffrey. I actually think that if Dalvin Cook was to stay healthy for 16 games, he would be the number one running back in fantasy football. So I'm going to take Dalvin Cook number one overall instead of McCaffrey in a best ball draft because I feel like, okay, if he gets hurt, I don't have to worry about replacing him in my lineup. I don't have to worry about going to the waiver wire. I'll just draft for depth. I'll get Alexander Madison behind him, etc. So I treat it like the high stake players do as well. The high stake players always drafting for upside. I will be drafting for upside. I want to draft guys that are going to have the most explosive weeks possible. So if I'm going Michael Thomas versus DK Metcalf, I feel like Thomas is going to be more consistent week to week, but I feel like Metcalf might have the bigger weeks. So I might prefer Metcalf over Thomas. It'll make those close decisions different for me than they were in a seasonal league.
Interesting. Now, one other question to go along with this is, so if you're playing for the upside, like you should in the best ball, does that change, and we'll start at the quarterback position, does that change your theory at quarterback, right? Does that, when you look at Patrick Mahomes and we know the unbelievable upside he literally can bring each and every week, are you willing to take the quarterback, right? Everybody says, wait on quarterback, round 8, round 9, round 7, whatever it is. Are you willing to say, well, listen, I'm looking to accumulate points every week. Bottom line, I just want the most points. So you know what? I'm taking Pat Mahomes in round 2. I'm not doing the wait because, like you said, you could draft for depth at other positions. Or is your strategy still the same? I could take, and like the last show, we talked about how much value there was at the QB position. So in short, does your strategy at quarterback change? Are you taking somebody earlier?
No,
or are you
I'm not taking somebody earlier. There's a lot of quarterbacks with upside, and I'll still wait on them. I like Joe Burrow in best ball because when he got hurt last year, he was fantasy QB9. Now they had Jamar Chase. There's some big upside weeks. I'm looking for upside weeks. I don't necessarily need the highest ceiling every single week. Pat Mahomes is not going to be the number one quarterback every single week. Quarterback is still deep. Unless I'm playing in a super flex, it's one at the position. So, and the flow of the draft is going to be a lot the same like it is in a regular seasonal league where you're going to see running backs and wide receivers go off the board. It's more about knowing who are those upside plays. I love Matthew Stafford in both seasonal and best ball. I think he has the best coaching he's ever been surrounded with and the deepest receiving crew he's ever been surrounded with, and possibly the best running game he's ever had in terms of support and running back and catching passes out of the backfield. It's a great environment for success for Stafford. So I'll wait on him and Burrow in seasonal, and I'll do it in best ball. Okay, and then later at quarterback too, I can take some upside cracks. I think Sam Darnold has some sleeper potential. So for the weeks that I think he can score potentially big, I will have him as my backup because there could be weeks that he outscores Stafford. In seasonal, I would never use Darnold, and I might not only draft one quarterback in a seasonal. In a best ball, I'm going to be drafting 2, and if I'm playing in a super flex best ball, I'm going to draft 3, maybe 4, like I did a Scott Fishbowl mock this week on CBSSports.com. You can see it. And I took Josh Allen in the first round, and I took Stafford in the third, and then I waited for my backups. I got Mac Jones in the 13th, and I got Tyrod Taylor in the 15th. So there's weeks that Taylor's going to start, a lot of weeks with the Deshaun Watson thing, and there's weeks where he's a good running quarterback, might outproduce one of my top 2 quarterbacks. So I'll have to go deeper at the position, not necessarily higher.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I'm me personally, when I do a best ball, even if it's not a super flex, I kind of walk away with 3 QBs anyway, just to prevent from injury and things like that. Let's shift over, though, to the running back position. And I'm looking as we talk at the Rotoballer rankings, the best ball rankings. Guys, if you sign up at Rotoballer, you'll have access to these rankings as well. And one interesting name that stands out for me towards the top of the running back position and that's Jonathan Taylor, sitting in best ball formats at running back as running back 6. He's sitting ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. He's sitting ahead of Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, just to name a few players. Your thoughts on Jonathan Taylor in this type of best ball format? Does he fit that mode of what you're describing? That ability to have that boom game over and over again.
I think so. And I like him number 6 in both seasonal and best ball because some people like Rotoballer's Frank Amarante, who I respect, but is king of the hot takes.
He loves his Jonathan Taylor.
He says he'll take Taylor number 1 overall in the seasonal league. Yep. I don't get that high. He's still got to show me that he can catch passes out of the backfield at a high rate. And plus, there's other pieces there. But he can have some very big weeks. So I think 6 is the perfect spot for Jonathan Taylor because in any given week, it could be 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then you'll have other running backs for the weeks where he might not disappoint. You may want to go deeper. Like if I had Jonathan Taylor here, I got Javonte Williams maybe as my running back 3 or something like that. Because, and you'll see in my latest article on ADPs in the FFPC on rotoballer.com, we had Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post come on and talk about how he thinks that Javonte Williams is going to be the number 1 running back very quickly for Denver. And his ADP right now is at about the 7th round or so. And if I can get him there in a best ball league before the buzz starts to increase, and I'll have him, 1 week Taylor might not live up to expectations and then Williams has a big week. So as we go on, we're talking about it's not just changing our approach early in the draft as much as it is now depth becomes even more important because when you take a crack on a value play, you want to know that they can contribute at any time. You don't want to take maybe a long shot where you don't know it's either he's going to contribute or he's not going to contribute at all. So I'm less inclined to the best ball to take somebody later like Rashad Penny because he's either going to do something or he's not going to do something at all. I want somebody where I say, okay, at some point this year, this guy is going to contribute. So if I get later in the draft, I might say Phillip Lindsay over Rashad Penny.
Interesting. What about Chase Edmonds? You talk a little bit about later in the draft. Right now, Chase Edmonds ranked as running back 28, and he's been a hot button player, right? Let's be honest. You see it on Twitter. Some people think he's the second coming. Some people see him in a platoon situation. And you and I, we've seen the Chase Edmonds explosion game. We've seen it once or twice a year. Path to playing time a little bit clearer now in Arizona, but not totally clear. Is Chase Edmonds the type of, going to have a couple of good weeks, so I'll take him late at running back player you look for?
He's about a 7th rounder right now, and I like him there. I think he has a lot of upside. When he's healthy, he can score from anywhere on the field. So he's a good best ball player because, you don't know in every given week whether it's going to be him or Connor, but there's going to be upside games. Mm-hmm. Then you look at the Jacksonville backfield. I don't want really a part of it when it comes to seasonal because 1 week it might be ETN and the next week it might be Robinson. Mm-hmm. But in best ball, I don't have to worry about that. When the good weeks come, I'll take them. When they're not, one of my other guys is going to contribute.
So would you put maybe the 49ers backfield in a similar situation as the the Jacksonville backfield, a situation where season long you might not love it because there's a lot of guys there to carry the ball, but in a best ball, Raheem Mostert has the ability to give you a solid number here and there.
Yeah, I've always been a Mostert fan. Like he can score from anywhere on the field, but he doesn't stay healthy. We had Matt Barrows on Rotoballer on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, 49ers beat writer from The Athletic. He said over time, progressively what's going to happen is Trey Sermon is going to become the lead running back there, but it's going to take some time. So when I look at this 49ers backfield from a best ball perspective, I want Mostert for the big weeks, but I also want Sermon for eventually when he becomes that lead running back.
Interesting. Now, another player I'm intrigued by, or another backfield, I guess interested in, is our very own right here in our own backyard, the New York Jets. Tevin
Not my
Coleman,
backyard. My backyard's not in New Jersey.
fair. But nonetheless, Tevin Coleman, I'm not really interested in. Michael P. Ryan, you look right now, that's the top of the depth charts. Nonetheless, Michael Carter, 4th-round pick, okay, has a ton of upside coming out of North Carolina. Again, you're talking late in the best ball draft. Is Michael Carter somebody people should be looking at? As you said it, he might not help week 1, but as the season goes on, he's now providing you value in those best ball formats.
When you look at the New Jersey Jets backfield, which is not my backfield, stop it. Okay, I'm overdoing it. Me getting pedantic with my geography. But anyway, he's about an 8th rounder right now, and he's got some upside, but he doesn't profile to be a full-time back. But I do like him in best ball for the occasional upside as a rookie. That offense is going to take time to gel. It's a new coaching staff. It's a new quarterback. A lot of pieces new on that offense. So you can be patient and maybe expect the results later in the year. Don't completely write off Tevin Coleman for when he's healthy. I get late. Maybe I go Tevin Coleman over Rashad Penny. Because Coleman is going to probably be the goal line that guy there and the lead runner, maybe near the goal line and on some interior runs when he's healthy. I'm thinking it might be a Coleman Carter timeshare. So, maybe you get in that 14th round and you're getting really deeper in a best ball draft and you go Tevin Coleman.
Stay in the AFC East for a minute and the New England Patriots backfield. Is this, the reports are Sony Michel could be out. Damian Harris is the guy or cements himself as the guy. But nonetheless, he wasn't really a useful fantasy option last season. Do you see more value for him in a best ball?
Yes, but that it's better. It's a better situation in a best ball league than it is in a seasonal league because you never know. We historically know that with this offense, we never know in any given week who it's going to be. I like Ramondre Stevenson as a late round pick. I got him in the Scott Fishbowl draft in the 15th round the other night. So it could be Ramondre Stevenson too. So, you could draft Harris, you could draft Stevenson, and that could go either way.
It's interesting that you say this though, because you got teams like Buffalo, the Jets, the Broncos, the Patriots, the Jaguars, just off the top of my head, that I agree with you. You're more comfortable with teams like that drafting their running backs in a best ball than you are in a season long, because just those 5 teams alone can have a different leading rusher each and every week. And if you get it wrong, you just lost your season long. But if you get it right, you potentially can walk away with a victory in the best ball format, Scott.
Yeah, you look at the Jets receivers. You don't know who it's going to be every week. Could it be the rookie? Could it be Jamison Crowder? Could it be Denzel Mims? Could it be Corey Davis? Then you look at Cincinnati. You don't know who it's going to be every week. Could it be Chase? Could it be Boyd? Could it be T. Higgins? So for these unpredictable situations, it's better for best ball than it is for seasonal.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, and I know it sounds crazy, but even the Raiders situation, right? I mean, we assume Josh Jacobs is still quote unquote the guy, but adding Kenyon Drake doesn't give us confidence, at least in a season long. We know there's a good chance Josh Jacobs is going to lose some touches to Kenyon Drake and cause potentially some games where it goes Kenyon Drake's way over Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, it is. But, it's like I'm totally out on the Raiders backfield when it comes to seasonal because Josh Jacobs has been a disappointment so far, and so is Kenyon Drake. So it's a question of not who's going to be better, who's going to disappoint me more. But I'm more willing to take the value play in seasonal. When I did that Scott Fishbowl draft, Kenyon Drake didn't go to like the 11th round.
So let me ask you this. One last question about the running back position. You mentioned Ramondre Stevenson. Is there a running back who you think week 1 week 2, week 3, kind of a non-factor. But in a best ball, by week 8 or 9, all of a sudden you're sitting there going, I got this one right. I like this guy. I drafted him late. People looked at me like I was crazy. And now he's contributing in my best ball each and every week.
I think, we're just talking about Trey Sermon. Maybe by week 6, I think you get there with somebody like him. So
interesting.
Stevenson, I think he's like way more of a long shot there. I think in best ball, Mike Davis doesn't have a lot of upside. He's more of a seasonal guy. I'm just combing through these running backs, in my head here. I don't see Tony Pollard really making much of a difference. With the Raiders, I don't think anything's going to happen with Drake. I already told you about the Jacksonville backfield. There's not a lot of running backs that I'm going to draft late where
I like the Trey Sermon call though. I do like
that
a lot.
Trey Sermon's one of them. I go back and forth about Rashad Penny. He's more of a seasonal sleeper to me. I think if Myles Gaskin can't stay healthy, that Salvin Ahmed is somebody that could step up and start at some point, and he's somebody going to be at the eye on. I think one guy who's definitely going to give you a few big games, and it might happen out of the gate. It could happen during the season. I think the Buffalo Bills, it serves them well to make a great offense even less predictable. So at some point, I think Zach Moss is going to bust out.
Fair enough. I do like Zach Moss this year as well. Now, Scott, next week, our next episode, we'll continue talking best ball and we'll look wide receivers and tight ends. But I do have a couple of questions for those of us in a keeper league, not dynasty, but the keeper league. You keep 3, you keep 5, whatever the rules of our listeners' league is. So I have a couple of players here. I want to throw the name to you, and you tell me. Let's call it 5 keepers. Are you willing to keep this player?
As let's say a third keeper where you're on the fence about that.
Fair enough, right? Your lockdown 2, your top 2, whoever they are, your third and final keeper, whatever it is. Okay. First player.
Or give me a round penalty on them too, just for people who do round penalties.
Okay, let's call let's say it's between round 6 and 8, right around there.
Okay.
Deal? Here we go. Now, let's make it even. Round 5. Call it round 5. Chris Carson, keep or not keep?
I will say keep as a third keeper round 5 and down to round 4. We know Carson, unfortunately, has staying healthy. Chris, I hope you stay healthy this year. When he's in there, he plays at a fantasy RB1 level. Yep. You look at the points per game last year. He was actually, I believe, RB11 in fantasy points per game last year. Very often plays at a fantasy RB1 level. As long as you get some insurance behind him, fantasy insurance, and that doesn't cost you anything monetarily. You don't have to go to Progressive or Geico or nothing like that. But I think he's certainly a keeper. If you consider him he's underrated in seasonal leagues. He goes in the middle of the 4th round.
Okay. Next player. I'm giving him a 3rd round keeper tag. 3rd round, Julio Jones. Keep or not keep?
As my 3rd keeper or 3rd round, I'm going to say I'm leaning towards no. Now, that doesn't mean I think Julio's done, because he's not 32 is not quite the end for a wide receiver. It's not as fast as he used to be, but he's still big and gets into a pretty good quarterback situation here on a pretty good offense. But I don't think the upside is there anymore. And when I'm looking at keepers, I want more of those upside plays.
Okay. Next player. Round 4, 3rd keeper overall. Round 4 price tag, right? Because everybody wants value on their keepers. So I'm trying to take the value away from some of these guys. Round 4 keeper, Kenny Golladay now of the Giants.
I definitely keep him. I think Golladay is underrated. He went in the 10th round of the Scott Fishbowl draft.
That's insane.
Kenny Golladay, and that was a mock on CBS, which you can check out on CBS Fantasy. But Galladay 2 years ago led the NFL in touchdowns.
Right, 11
And
touchdowns, just under
and that was
1,200
half a
yards.
year with Matthew Stafford being injured, where he was catching it from backup quarterbacks. When I do the eyeball test, just not looking at stats, Kenny Galladay has the talent to be a fantasy wide receiver one. And as long as he stays healthy, I think he's going to exceed a lot of expectations. So, yes, keep Kenny Galladay.
Okay. Third keeper, we're going to give him a 6th-round price tag. Myles Gaskin, running back for the Miami Dolphins. Keep or no keep?
At a 6th round and a 3rd running back, I would say yes. He is clearly the lead running back for Miami. They didn't make any moves to bring anybody significant in. He catches passes. He'll get some goal line work. He's an underrated fantasy RB2.
Okay. Final player on our list before we wrap up for today. Coming back from the ACL, Odell Beckham. 3rd player you keep. We're going to give him a 6th-round tag as well. Odell, who's disappointed a little bit the last 2 years. 6th round off the ACL. Are you keeping Odell Beckham?
I'm going to keep him. He may start slow, but a keeper, I'm looking long term. Odell was so upset on the sidelines last year. He was like chomping at the bit because the Browns had their best season in, I don't know, like what, 50 years?
Yep.
Something like that. I'm exaggerating, of course. But
I don't know about that.
he wanted to they beat the Steelers in the playoffs. They gave the Chiefs a little bit of a fight, and he couldn't be a part of it. And he really wants to be a part of this. I believe like he's really working hard to get back to be something special with a special team that's just maybe going to get better here. And I know people talk about how Mayfield played better without him. You know, I think Beckham's probably gained a lot of perspective while he's been out, and the talent is still there. I'm going to take a shot and keep him.
Fair enough. I love it. All right, everybody. Tune in to the next episode. Scott and I will talk more best ball. We'll talk more keepers. And hopefully you enjoyed this episode of the King and Pocket Aces. Guys, like I said at the start, rotoballer.com. Sign up for those premium packages. Use the promo code KING or the promo code ACES. Follow Scott on Twitter at Scott E. The King. Follow me on Twitter at Aniano Fantasy. Scott, this has been fun as always. We'll be back this time next week with everybody right here on the Rotoballer YouTube channel or wherever you listen to the Rotoballer podcasts. Stay smart, stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you next time right here on the King and Pocket Aces Fantasy Show.